From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello and very, very Merry Christmas to you, everybody. I'm Jaime Hixson, joined by an old friend on the phone.
This is Hector Bosa, the hottest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV. Sorry I can't be there today. I've been partying too much, and, I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. Hey,
Just like Kiss, right?
that's right. I'm doing that and more, brother.
Well, isn't that what Christmas is all about?
Well, people take, for some reason, Christmas as the one day where we should be happy and thankful and helping other people, and we should be doing that 24/7, 360 a year, But I am grateful about a lot of things, and hopefully Christmas will be great this year. There'll be a light snow. That's something that we won't have to kill our backs for trying to get the cars out. And remember, Christmas is not about gifts, and people think about it's about gifts. Even if you give a person one gift, it's about the heart and what's into the gift sometimes, because there are not a lot of people that are out there right now that have the money to give gifts. Hell, there's not even people out there that have homes, whether it's in this country or other countries out there. So those are the people that you have to think about as well, just like Thanksgiving.
So true.
But,
What do you have to be the most thankful for?
That all these women are coming up to me and going to bed with me, and they're paying me. And also that I have good friends around me, and they'll stay healthy, and they'll stay healthy, and hopefully all their good dreams will come true.
Before we continue, I'm going to wish everyone that's watching right now the most awesome Christmas ever. We hope you spend it happily, safely, and sound, and very blessed as well.
That's right, because this is the Christmas show.
So true. This is the Christmas show, and with this being roughly a week before Christmas, we would be remiss if we did not talk about some gifts that each of our New York sports teams are asking for right now to be put under their trees.
Yeah, for instance, the New York Yankees right now, their gift is not Bruce Harper. Now, I would get him if he can play first base.
Well, he's not really a first baseman, to be honest with you. He's strictly an outfielder. And to be quite honest with you, as much as he would be great in that lineup, it really doesn't make sense for them, because the Yankees are already crowded in the outfield, so much so that there's not really a need for this guy.
But they say he can play first base too. So if you can convert him to first base, because you're very weak at first base, then he could be a great hitter. I mean, he could be, like I said, a great hitter, and you would have a solid first baseman, hopefully, because his manager or his agent said that he would go to first base if the Yankees would get him, and he wants to play for the Yankees.
Is that really true?
Yes.
Because the last time I checked, he had a whole bunch of teams that were chasing after him, and one of them was the Dodgers.
Well, yeah. Everybody's chasing right now for him and for Manny Machado.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of teams that are going after him, and the Yankees actually had to. I don't know if they're sitting, if Hal Steinbrenner is sitting down, with Machado because of that report that he did last time. But they are going after him until Didi Gregorius comes. Now, let's say they do go after him and they do get him. What do they do with Didi Gregorius, and does Manny Machado go to third base? And that poor kid that's down the minor league system, do you put him at second base, or do you put him, or do you trade him to get someone else? Andujar, I think.
If they get Machado, he's going to be used as the shortstop. And once Gregorius is 100% healthy, because these Tommy John surgeries take a long time for athletes to recover from. But as far as what's going to be done with him, they gave Machado a long-term contract for a reason. Or they're going to give Machado a long-term contract for a reason, and that's because they want to make him the centerpiece of that infield. In the event that they do sign him to a big deal, then that would mean Gleyber Torres would probably be used as the second baseman. And maybe, as much as I would hate for them to do this, maybe trade Manny Machado. Maybe trade Miguel Andujar, which would be really tough because Andujar had a terrific rookie season. Trade Andujar, move Gregorius back to short, then convert Machado to third. That would be anybody's guess. As far as Bryce Harper is concerned, do you know how many games Bryce Harper has played at first base in his entire Major League career?
Probably, 5?
1.
Oh, okay.
You know how many games he's played in the outfield? 911. 600 of those games have been played in right field. And as of right now, the one team that could be hot on his trail, actually 2 of them. One is the Dodgers, and another might be the Phillies. The Phillies actually made some great strides this season as opposed to last year. Even though they were barely a 500 club this year, they're really looking to make a splash this winter to try and get better for next year and contend.
Such as?
Bryce Harper would be that first building block for them to turn to if they really want to contend next year.
What do they have now that you say that? What is it about the team that you say that?
Well, one thing that they have right now is pitching. They made a big deal to in 2018, that is, to get one of the guys that they have right now, which is Jake Arrieta, and he had a pretty solid season last year. And they also have Hector Neris, who they could use in the bullpen. Aaron Nola, too. Aaron Nola was very good for them last season. So those are 2 guys that the Phillies can use as a 1-2 punch in their starting staff. So last year it was all about pitching. This year they want to get themselves some big bats. And they already made the trade to send away Carlos Santana to the Mariners.
I hope he plays his guitar as well as he hits.
Good one, but at the same time, there's one thing that the Phillies were able to do. It wasn't a really costly signing. They did get Andrew McCutchen, who played briefly with the Yankees last year and is better known for his years with the Pirates. They gave McCutchen a 3-year deal. So, in spite of his age, he's still a young guy, though. He's only 32.
Let's go. Let's try this.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Braves, in very few moments, how do you see the Braves?
Right now, the Braves are the best team in the Eastern Division. They've got hitting, they've got pitching behind them, they've got a long list of good young players that they could plug in anywhere.
How about the Miami Marlins?
Horrible. We don't know what they're trying to do. We don't know if they even want to contend at any time. The only thing that we do know about them is that they have a really solid core of young players, both in their system and at the big club right now. One of which is probably being used as trade bait, JT Realmuto.
And what position he plays?
He's a catcher. He was the guy that the Mets were rumored to probably get. But the Marlins wanted either Michael Conforto or Noah Syndergaard or Brandon Nimmo, and the Mets were just not willing to give up either of them. So that's why the Mets decided to buy low and go after Wilson Ramos and give him a 2-year deal. So they're going to make Wilson Ramos one of the catchers to go along with possibly, when he comes back from his Tommy John surgery, Travis d'Arnaud, which means Kevin Plawecki is going to have to be either traded, because he can't go back to the minor leagues. He's out of options. He's going to be either traded or placed on waivers or designated for assignment.
Well, let's go down again. Let's try the Mets. What do you think they have, and what's their contention, and who do you think they're going to get?
Well, the Mets still have that really strong starting pitching that they could go for in a game at any time next season. They've got Syndergaard still, as of this moment. They've got DeGrom, who won the Cy Young Award. They strengthened their bullpen quite a bit because not only did they bring back Jeurys Familia, they also made the deal to get Edwin Rios. So the Mets were able to strengthen their bullpen 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you got Familia back with Edwin, and it's Edwin Diaz, I should say. Edwin Diaz was the guy, the kid that they wound up getting from Seattle. And they also strengthened their infield a little bit by getting Robinson Cano to play second base, which means now they're going to have to do something with Jeff McNeil. Either make him the third baseman to replace Todd Frazier, or maybe use him as trade bait.
Well, they're having problems right now at first base.
They don't know who the first baseman is going to be.
And also, the rumors are out there with Syndergaard. Now, why would you trade him?
If they want to trade him, it would be to either get a really powerful bat in return, probably somebody to patrol right field or first base. They could have used him to get JT Realmuto, but they decided to back off at the last minute. So as of right now, Syndergaard's going to be a really important piece of their rotation. And quite frankly, why trade away one of your best pitchers, especially a guy who throws as much heat as he does, a kid who can probably be the centerpiece to any kind of playoff aspirations for next year and beyond, when they could use him as a 1-2 punch along with DeGrom. And there's also the issue of who the 3, 4, and 5 starters are going to be. Zach Wheeler pitched very well the second half of the year. So you figured that Wheeler's going to join DeGrom and Syndergaard as that really powerful trio that the Mets can use. And then after that, Steven Matz was a disappointment. Jason Vargas pitched reasonably well the second half of the year, but I still think that the Mets need a really consistent 4th and 5th starter to bring in so they could really contend. And there are pitchers out there. Some of the free agent pitchers that are out there are really, really good.
Right. And also what the Mets did actually very well this year is the fact that they brought in people. They picked up someone from the Boston Red Sox.
Rajai Davis.
Yeah, so
even though he's 30, he turned 38 years old a couple of months ago, but you look at the kind of career that Rajai Davis has had, nothing spectacular whatsoever, but he brings a lot of quickness to the base paths. He's stolen over 400 bases for his career, and he's been a pretty decent contact hitter for the majority of his career as well. So maybe the Mets can give him a chance in spring training to claim right field.
Because here are the things about the Mets that are going on right now. Kevin Plawecki,
Kevin Plawecki, yeah,
available
he's on thin
via
ice now.
trade. He sends via trade. Rajai Davis, they signed for minor league.
Yep.
Familia's good to be back. Willie Wilson Ramos. How much of an upgrade is Will Wilson Ramos be?
He's no JT Realmuto. I mean, he's not as powerful at the plate as Realmuto is. Wilson Ramos can only hit about 15 home runs a year, whereas Realmuto came off a year where he hit about 20 to 25 home runs during the season. But Ramos is a really solid defender, and he's really, really good at pitch selection and also framing pitches at the plate. So he's going to work really well with the Met pitchers coming up.
And, their minus system is not that good. If they trade Syndergaard, they want to boost their minor league system as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow has been really convinced that he could try and crack the major league roster down the road.
And let me ask you this. Let's go to the New York teams. What do you think is their wish list, and what do you think is the possibilities of them getting who they want? Let's go, since we did with the Mets, what do you think the possibilities of the Mets getting someone?
Of the Mets getting anybody of caliber?
Yes.
Having seen how little money that they've spent so far, aside from getting Robinson Cano, not too much. The Mets have made it clear that they don't want to spend that much money over the winter, so don't expect a Manny Machado or a Bryce Harper to make their way over here.
Yeah, well, they're asking for 10-year contracts. That's another thing, too.
See, that's the thing. We've already seen these 10-year contracts that have been signed in the majors right now. Dave Winfield was the first one to get a 10-year contract. At least he was able to produce. But then you've got A-Rod, Albert Pujols. Both of them had good careers, but by the time they reached the twilight, they were just shells of their former selves. That's what the Mariners were afraid of as he got halfway through his deal. And he's already halfway through his deal right now, and they're still picking up some of it for the Mets for next year and beyond.
And so you got the Mets. So there's no big splash with the Mets unless they trade Syndergaard.
Well, the only splash that they made was with Robinson Cano. After that, I don't expect them to make another big splash much longer. Now, if they really wanted to make a splash, I would look into getting a starting pitcher or maybe getting some more relief help. Although they made it clear that they may not be able to afford someone the caliber of maybe an Andrew Miller, who I thought would have been really great for their bullpen.
But I wanted to ask you this. So, no big splash for the Mets.
No.
Do they have a chance next year?
I just don't see it. I mean, they'll be lucky if they break 500, to be honest with you. There's just too many holes for them to try and recover from. They still need that first baseman. They still need a right fielder. They still need pitching in the worst way. I mean, Wheeler and DeGrom and Syndergaard can't really carry a staff by themselves. They need help. They need a fourth and fifth starter to support them.
What about the Yankees? What do you think the chances of them making a big splash because they're trying to stay in budget and all? What do you think that's happening?
For the Yankees, it's 50-50 right now. Because you look at each of the places of need that they're looking for, I would think that they need at least a little bit more help in the bullpen. I think they need speed in the worst way. if I'm not mistaken, I think they brought back Brett Gardner on a cheap deal, and he's the only guy who could provide some kind of quickness on the base paths and be a base stealing threat. Other than that, I mean, not to say that they're good at every single position, although now we saw that that they re-signed Jay Happ, so their starting rotation is going to be Luis Severino and Masahiro Tanaka and James Paxton and CC Sabathia and Jay Happ. I mean, that's a pretty good starting five right there. It's just a matter of whether they'll be able to remain healthy for an entire season. As far as the bullpen is concerned, the bullpen is still good. I mean, there's still the matter of Chapman and David Robertson, who is a free agent, by the way, and maybe they should consider bringing back because he pitched in some really good games for them and got some really, really big outs for them. There's also the matter of a couple of the other guys that they have in their bullpen. Let's see what we have here. Betances, of course. They also have A.J. Cole as well. And also, the Yankees are still trying to find a taker for Sonny Gray. There was a little rumor that maybe the Brewers might be interested in him, but that talk has died down a little bit. There's also the X factor that has not even been mentioned here. It's Jordan Montgomery. He missed a lot of last season because he had Tommy John surgery. So maybe he could be the guy to help them in the bullpen in the event that they needed some work there. But as of right now, Chapman and Betances, Chance Adams, who had a really solid season, maybe Luis Sessa, who was okay at times. I think the Yankees could use a little bit more help in their bullpen right now.
I have to tell you that Joan Steinbrenner died.
Yeah, Mrs. Steinbrenner's widow wound up passing away.
And also the potential of them targeting Daniel Murphy.
That's been talked about quite a bit because Murphy is available to probably play second base. And let me tell you, he's nothing like Manny Machado, but Met fans who saw him play with them for 7 years know all too well what kind of player he is. A great contact hitter who can get a lot of big hits and win a lot of big games for his team at the plate. Defensively,
Right.
He is a butcher at second base. He really, really messes up a lot of plays. His base running is really, really questionable, too. But I would see the Yankees kicking the tires on Daniel Murphy in the event that they were not able to get Machado. Speaking of which, the Yankees are going to talk to Manny Machado's agent in a couple of days.
And you know who that is, right?
I think it's Scott Boras.
Yes.
Well, knowing how Scott Boras is, he's going to come up with all of these numbers to try and sell on the Yankees as to why he should be the guy to be the everyday shortstop or second baseman or third baseman for them.
Well, the Yankees have, I think, a good relationship with Scott Boras because they've dealt with him before, and he's the main agent right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been the main agent for the big superstars, and I remember a while ago his name used to pop up like ragweeds.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something. But Trevor Cahill, they may get him from the Athletics.
Yeah.
They signed this kid Brothers
Mm-hmm.
To the minor league system. His name is Rex Brothers.
Right.
They signed him to the minor league system, and he's a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lefty pitcher.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they wound up claiming him off waivers, didn't they?
I'm pretty sure they did, and it's Colorado. He's from Colorado, I think. They got him from Colorado. But so the big splash may be that they will get Manny Machado. Do they keep Sonny Gray? What if they did keep Sonny Gray?
If they did keep Sonny Gray, then that would mean the Yankees would have 6 starters in the rotation.
And that's what they wanted anyway, in case one of the guys break down anyway.
Quite possibly. I mean, I'm surprised that a lot of these teams don't go with a 6-man rotation in the first place. I mean, you could stretch out guys a lot more, give them that extra day of rest. The only thing is, would these pitchers really benefit from a 5th day of rest as opposed to the standard 4 that they get?
And also, the other problem is that your bullpen will be exhausted more, because if these guys don't hold out, and your bullpen will be shorter because you have that extra pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing you have to worry about. There was actually a rumor of getting rid of Gary Sanchez at one point, too.
Yeah, he's been rumored to be on the trading block for a long time, but everybody's just down on him because of all the passed balls and all of the wild pitches that he was unable to block in the bullpen. You just cannot trade a kid like him just for the sake of getting rid of him. And also, did he have a down year at the plate? Yes, he did. But that's why you have hitting instructors, and that's also why you have off seasons, and that's also why you have spring training. That way they can work on those mechanics during their free time so they can try and get better for the following season.
Well, remember this too. He was playing hurt.
Yeah, he was coming off a really bad injury. But you can't trade Sanchez just because of a down year. I mean, quite frankly, he had an outstanding 2017. Who's to say that he's not going to repeat that again in 2019? Not only that, but does anybody even realize how difficult of a position being a major league catcher in baseball is? They have to crouch down all 9 innings as a starter. They're lucky if they get in about 130 games a season. There was a time when catchers used to catch 150, 160 games in the past, but not anymore. You need 2 catches, one to take the load off the other and vice versa. But I just don't think the fans are very appreciative of what the catcher can bring to a pitching staff. And let me tell you, Gary Sanchez really means a lot to the veteran pitchers on that staff. He knows exactly what he's doing behind the plate. No one should have to worry about him.
And also, they have decent backup catchers.
Yes, they do.
You'll never have a Johnny Bench again. Those guys that can catch for so long of a period of time. And also, some of these guys that were catchers played first base, and then when they couldn't play first base anymore, they went to the outfield. But because right now, if you're not in the American League, to be a DH, an official DH, you can't really do nothing in the National League. But the people that they have down the minor league system, they say here that the days of untouchable Yankee prospects should be over in 2019 with Andrew Hart down there and Clint Frazier, Albert Abreu.
It's funny that you mentioned Clint Frazier because he was a guy that the Yankees were possibly grooming as an everyday outfielder. But all those concussions that he had really, for lack of a better word, knocked him out of the lineup. So now that the Yankees have Brett Gardner and Aaron Judge and Aaron Hicks and also Giancarlo Stanton as their outfield rotation, exactly where does Clint Frazier fit here?
Flores suffered a broken hamate bone after this summer, which is an injury notorious for snapping hitter's power.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have some of these people down there. Are they untouchable? Should you trade them to build up your minor league system again?
Well, there's one thing that I've learned about professional sports. No athlete is ever untouchable. So to answer your question, no, they're not untouchable down there. If the Yankees see somebody or are offered something that they can think of helping their team, they're going to investigate it, and they'll probably go through with a major deal.
So the Yankees right now up in arms with trades and the big splash. Manny Machado, yes or no?
Well, you're not, with the Yankees, it's 50-50 right now. Their history has consisted of making big splashes. That's why you've seen them make deals for A-Rod and most recently Giancarlo Stanton. So naturally, they might make a big splash. Who really knows? I'm just saying that what's out there right now, the Yankees might be a little, they might want to play buyer beware this time.
Well, the Yankees did make a move to get Tyler Hill from the Tigers for cash.
Yeah, that's right. That's who they wound up getting in a deal. They wound up getting Tyler Hill. Tyler Hill is basically an outfielder who has played, I think, 5 years of rookie ball and A ball. He's spent the majority of his time in A ball. I mean, it's someone who they could probably groom in the minor leagues for the future. And I'm looking at his numbers here. 351 minor league games, 349 hits, 275 average, 14 homers, 149 RBIs. More importantly, though, 93 steals. So this is a guy who brings quickness to the outfield and could probably track down a lot of fly balls in the outfield as well. So let's see if the Yankees can probably use him either as a potential outfielder for down the road or if they can use him for a trade for down the road.
And the daughter of Jim Cashfish Hunter dies suddenly.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's another one that's bad.
Yeah.
But so the Yankees, in your estimation, they do something or they don't do anything, or do they make that big splash or they don't? What do you think?
It's 50-50, to be honest with you. I mean, talking with Manny Machado's agent in a couple of days sounds intriguing, but I really would not read too much into it. It's basically like them getting together to just BS around and see exactly what Machado is looking for. Now, if his agent wants that big gargantuan contract, right along the lines of a Cano and a Pujols and an A-Rod, then the Yankees should just back away and move on, because there's no rhyme or reason to try and offer a kid like him that much. I mean, granted, Machado is an outstanding slugger, but to be quite honest with you, not for 10 years.
But here's another thing too. Yankees lose several prospects. Mets gain 4 in Rule 5 draft choice.
Yeah, the Rule 5 draft is the draft that they have every April. And a lot of really solid players have come through the Rule 5 draft in the past, one of whom is Johan Santana.
Oh, right. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Johan Santana, if I'm not mistaken, was left unprotected by the Astros, and he wound up getting picked by the Florida Marlins I think it was 2000, correction, 1999 or 2000. And then he wound up being traded to Minnesota, and he wound up having a really solid career with the Twins and the Mets.
What do you think about the Giants? What's their wish right now?
For the season to be over.
Besides that, what do you think is their target wish for next year?
A young quarterback who can be ready for them immediately. A whole bunch of help on the offensive line. And a reconstructed defense. Specifically, some better down linemen, specifically a pass rusher or two, and a linebacker, and a corner who can be a ball hawk and who can cover.
Now, who's the person that's available right now that you think that they can get?
Well, in a perfect world, I would like to see the Giants maybe make a play for... Well, let me tell you, Nick Foles, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be maybe a free agent at the end of next season. Let's see the Giants be ballsy and probably make a play for Nick Foles as a free agent down the road. That's number one. Number two, do something about that offensive line. Any good, competent offensive line that's out there right now, I would go get immediately. As far as in the secondary, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tyrann Mathieu is still going to be available because he's only on a one-year contract with the Houston Texans. Maybe the Giants should make a play for Tyrann Mathieu in that secondary. Those are two guys that I can think of that maybe they should consider for positions of need.
Okay. Do they make a big splash, you think?
They probably should because they need as much help as they can get.
Well, you
but
know how
knowing
they
how
are.
knowing
I mean,
how knowing how up and down the Giants are when it comes to free agency, I really don't know what to expect from them.
How about the Jets? What are the big splashes for them? What are the realistic goals for them, and who do you think they can get next year?
Well, what are the realistic goal for them is to contend. How are they going to contend? They need help at receiver. They need help at running back. They need help at the offensive line. I think they need major help in the secondary, and I think they could use another pass rusher to support Leonard Williams.
Do they get rid of the coach?
Oh, he's gone. I don't even know why they would even consider bringing him in for a fifth season. He has not done anything to try and spark the players in that locker room. The players say that they like him, but he literally has done nothing to try and take charge there.
And what do you see that the again? Do you see the Jets making a big splash too, or do you see them just do what they normally do?
Well, they're going to have the third pick in the draft. Not sure if it's going to be enough for them to take maybe Nick Bosa from Ohio State. He's Joey Bosa's younger brother. Joey Bosa, of course, is with the Chargers. Seeing Nick Bosa and Leonard Williams on the same team would be deadly for that Jet defensive line. So that would be one. Number two, I'd have to see the entire list of free agents just to see who the next big thing is going to be come March.
Now let's play basketball, and let's play with the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
Who's going next year, you think? And also, who do you think they'll keep? And also, who do you think they'll receive because they have a big salary cap?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned who they want to keep because they just re-signed Spencer Dinwiddie to a really decent contract. They gave him I think 2 years or 3 years in extension. And Spencer has been so solid for that team ever since he signed with them a couple of years ago. He's been a big game player for them. He's made some big plays for teammates and for himself. He's also been a big shot maker as well. My guess is he's going to be the guy that the Nets are going to look to be their leader down the road. As far as who they're going to get rid of, Alan Crabb maybe. I mean, he's been really up and down in the rotation. Damari Carroll, I think, has played reasonably well. Jarrett Allen is definitely the guy that the Nets want to build around, along with Spencer Dinwiddie. Jarrett Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie, maybe Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. Karis LeVert is a real question mark right now because he's been hurt, and they really don't know how much longer he's going to be able to recover from that injury that he has. And it's a shame because ever since he went down, the Nets have been really up and down. Lately, the Nets have been able to win 5 games in a row, and I'm thinking, who are these guys and where did the real Nets go? But, hey, they've won 5 in a row. There's still 5 games under 500, which makes them at the bottom end of the totem pole. But right now, they've got, I would say, 3 really good pieces. Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson that they can build with for down the road. Jefferson's a good defender. Jarrett Allen is a really good post defender and a very, very solid scoring threat for them. He's got a decent mid-range jumper and a really good hook shot to work with too. And he's got the best disposition for that locker room as well. He's always smiling. He's got such a great attitude as well. Dinwiddie, if you want to look for a leader, Spencer Dinwiddie is the leader to look for. Now, as far as who the Nets should get rid of, who they should get rid of, I'm not really too sure about that. I mean, Joe Harris has been providing some pretty decent long-range shooting for them. Alan Crabb right now is a real question mark because he's been running hot and cold for them for the last year and a half. The 2 rookies that they have from this past June, Zanan Musa and Rodions Kuric, I couldn't even begin to make a comment on those 2 because they just have not played enough to try and make a really good critique of. Although Kuric did have a pretty solid game against Atlanta yesterday.
What about D'Angelo Russell? Do you see him playing there, or do you see him leaving?
What's that?
Russell.
D'Angelo Russell?
D'Angelo
Russell is a really intriguing guy because he's a two-way guard who gives them height. He gives them a really good scoring, too. But he's another kid who can run hot and cold at any time.
I mean, at least they'll have, you always should have at least what? What do you normally keep? 4 or 5 guards?
Yeah, pretty much 4 or 5 guards to try and build a really successful combo with.
So at this point in time,
at this rate, I think that the Nets would probably keep Russell.
Who do you see them getting in the draft? Where do you think they're going to be in the draft next year, you think? And who do you think they should get?
At this rate, I would see them maybe getting the 9th or 10th pick in the draft. I mean, it's still enough for them to get a really good impact player, but if the Nets want to get someone of caliber, it would have to be another scoring threat to support Dinwiddie and Hollis Jefferson and Allen, in addition to Karis LeVert.
Do you see an all-star player coming to the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, it's 50-50 at this point. I mean, they could probably make their way over here because they're impressed with the way things are being run over in Brooklyn, and also with the way the team has been competitive this season. But still, they have to look at that franchise for what they really are, a Mickey Mouse organization that's been star-crossed and has had traditionally really lousy management. Although they may not want to consider that and just look at the pieces that they have now, and maybe they would see themselves as someone that they could probably help to build.
And their management so far has been doing well since they've gotten Dinwiddie and Russell and all them other people. So it's been progressing.
Tell you what, the guy that's been running the show is Sean Marks. He's their general manager. All he's done is make one deal after another to try and erase everything that happened under Billy King, who completely and utterly destroyed that franchise. The moment that he made the Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce deal, that set that franchise back 5 to 6 years. And they slowly but surely they're recovering from it right now. But it's still going to take at least 2 more years for that franchise to really be taken seriously.
So
I give them 2 years at least.
Who do you see playing? Who? Let me ask you this: who do you think would come to the Nets?
Who do I think would come to the Nets?
Yes. Which possibles?
That is a really good question. It would have to be. I'm not sure. I don't think they can get a superstar. They're not getting Kevin Durant. They're not going to get anybody like
Kyrie
or Kyrie Irving. Besides, the Nets are already set at point guard, and I think Dinwiddie is a better defender, and he's got more height than Irving does. Not only that, but Kyrie Irving is a medical liability that the Nets should not have to deal with.
Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard, I can probably see as a Brooklyn Net. He could really, really help them defensively because one of the Nets' biggest problems is perimeter defense, and Kawhi Leonard would work perfectly with that team.
Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler is another guy who could probably help build the Nets. Him and Spencer Dinwiddie on the same team, I think they would be potentially really, really explosive. I think they could combine for maybe 35 to 40 points a game.
How about the New York Knicks, your favorite team and mine? They're playing right now.
First of all, they've never been my favorite team in the last 20 years. And second of all, they are exactly who their record says they are, and they are either 9-21 or 9-22. And everybody wants to talk about how they're going in the right direction. All I have been seeing from them is getting their brains beat out every 2 weeks or so. And it's gotten to the point where you might want to look forward to April. That way they can see how they're going to be able to foul up the free agent process that's going to happen in July.
Well, wait a minute. With the Nets, the Knicks have the second youngest team in the league.
They have the second youngest team in the league, and they're also probably the 4th or 5th worst team in the league right now.
Right now, okay, granted. But they do have solid players that an all-star player, just like the Nets, that they can see, okay, I can see myself playing with them because they're also, just like the Brooklyn Nets, they're trying to squash what happened with that organization. They're trying to build their reputation back up again. it's harder for the New York Knicks to build up the reputation because of all the screw-ups that they've done in the past and what they've done not even too long ago with the Charles Oakley incident.
Oh, spare me. First of all, spare me the Charles Oakley stuff, please. That's only going to infuriate me even more than it already has.
I'm just saying that with the new management that they have now, they're trying to do the same as the Brooklyn Nets.
They're trying to do the same as the Brooklyn Nets, but people are avoiding them like the plague.
They also have a decent team. They have a decent young core. You know, if you think about it, Damian Dotson, Frank Nikita, Trey, what's his name that they just signed because they released Ron Baker, Kevin Knox, Robertson. You have all those young players that you didn't have at all, and some of the other, like Vaughn and some of them other players that you have that are leaving next year. And they also have a big salary cap because Henzo, he's got a 1-year contract. He may not come back. There's a lot of people with 1-year contracts. Enes Kanter has a 1-year contract. So do you see them? Who do you think they're going to get if they stay at that pace? Where do they land on the NBA draft?
At this rate, the Knicks would probably get the 5th best draft choice in June. I hate to tell you this, but I don't see one single young player on this roster right now that I can say he's the guy to want to build a team around, or he's the guy that I would want to work with down the road. I just don't see it.
You're too hard.
Individually.
There are a lot of good players. That's the thing. That is the thing. That's where we differ. Because, you know, if Kristaps Porzingis comes back, and he comes back healthy, you got a really nice blend there.
Even if he came back, Hector, he's not going to make any impact whatsoever on any hopes that they have the second half of the year. They're going to be exactly where they started, practically in October, which is at the bottom and staying there once April comes around.
Right, because we get another draft pick. A lot of those people. Now remember what you said. Remember what you said, and that is with the Brooklyn Nets. When you see kids trying, and you see them may have a nucleus that they actually going in the right direction, there's a lot of people that may see this and go, you know what? If I played for that team, I can fix that team, because Kevin Durant may be a long shot, but he may have a good shot because he's got a good association with Dave Fitzgerald, and also Ashante, who I think he's dating. Maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm right. She's from New York, so you never know. You'll do anything for a woman, so he may land here. There's a lot of players that may land here because of the salary cap that the Knicks also have.
If they're gonna land here, it's gonna be on the other side of the bridge. It's not gonna be with the Knicks. Sorry, but who on that Knicks roster does anybody see that they can try and either work with or build around? If you're gonna tell me Damian Dotson, sorry, but he would probably be a backup shooting guard on somebody else's roster.
Kristaps Porzingis.
If he had 2 good knees, then maybe. But because he has a mangled knee that he is still trying to rehab, I would stay far away from Kristaps Porzingis right now. Mitchell Robinson, I'm not too sure about him. He's just extremely raw right now. Lance Thomas, Yeah, right.
He's gone.
Like, I would
He's gone
actually
next year.
work with a guy who plays no defense, and the most that he can average is
And
about
he's-
8 points a game.
What do you
Sorry,
mean
I'm
he's
not
got no
going there.
defense? He
No,
plays one
and
of the better
who
defenses.
is
That's what they
Noah
got him there.
Vonleh? Noah Vonleh is a kid who's bounced
gone
around
next year,
from one team to another. He's played on how many teams in the last 5 years? Oh, brother. I mean,
5, 4. But remember, these are guys.
there's a reason why he's bounced around with 4 or 5 teams in 5 years. Judge for yourself how this is going.
Again, you're still
Kevin Knox, he's a tweener right now. Courtney Lee
He's
is
gone next year,
is in the twilight of his career.
He's gone
Emmanuel
next year.
Moutier,
He's
he's
gone
just had
next year.
one hot
Moutier,
flash
yeah.
right now. Sorry, but he's not going anywhere either.
Again,
Frank Ntilikina, why would anybody want to work with
3
a
teams want him.
6'5" point guard who
3
has
teams want
zero offensive skills, zero creativity, and zero
creativity.
way
You're
how to
not
run
watching the same games that
how
I
to run
have
an
seen.
offense from the point guard spot.
You're not watching the same games that I'm seeing.
Oh, I'm
You're
watching
not
the same
watching it
games,
because
guy.
you
There
really-
is
you really-
nothing
you really
here
are really
for the
too
Knicks
hard
to try
because with the
and attract
Brooklyn-
other free agents with.
With the Brooklyn Nets, you're
At
saying
least the
that they
Brooklyn
have a
Nets
chance,
have
but
3
with
or
the
4
New
guys
York
that they
Knicks,
can
you
try
don't
and
see them
work
having a
with.
chance?
The Knicks have nothing.
Are you serious? You're out of your mind.
No, I'm not out of my
You're
mind.
You're
These
out of your
these guys
mind.
are just not
You're
working
out
well
of your
collectively
mind.
at all.
You're out of your mind.
No,
You're out of
I'm
your
not.
mind. Because they have a good nucleus. You mean to tell me that those guys that I just mentioned, now you have to remember something. Half of those people that you mentioned, Moutier, he may not be there next year because he's got a 1-year contract. Some of those other players may not be there next year because they have 1-year contract. Henzo, Vaughn, all them people, they may not come back next year. So, but you still have a nice core of players, just like the Brooklyn Nets. You still
Such
have a
as
nice
who?
core. You still have. You just mentioned them. You just don't want to give them credit for anything. And they're the second youngest team in the league. At one point, are you telling me that as a New York, you want them to win now, even though they're the second youngest player in the league? That you don't want them to get experience? At what point you have to give them experience and so forth. They got to lose before they win. All the teams have gone through this same situation.
Hector, that's been the
lost
problem.
first and
They've been
won at the
losing
end of the
for
tunnel. They beat the light at the end
17,
of the
almost 18 years.
You're absolutely
The
right, but they're
time
starting
is
afresh.
now
When
to
was the
start
last
building
time-
a real contender.
When was the last time that you can say that this is that you can say this is the second youngest team in the league? When was the last time they've had that?
Probably 20 or 30 years ago.
Exactly. So now they're trying something new. Now they're calling patience. Now I'm with you. I'm skeptical to some degree. I'm skeptical to some degree. But I'm seeing something different than what you're seeing because Mitchell Robinson is a damn good player, and if he plays the way he plays, and if he learns the way he learns, he's got a good chance of being one of the best centers in the league. And you have a lot of other teams that would give an arm and a leg for this kid. Frank Ntilikina the same. You have a lot of players that the Knicks can draft or get rid of. But it's at 7:59. I got to go. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. The hell with PC. And, yeah, happy holidays as well. But I'm going to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And when do we come back?
We'll be back Christmas Eve.
All right, then I'll stay in on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year then. But
Thank you,
until this
folks.
time,
For everyone
I'll see you
here,
then.
specifically Kenny on the other side of the glass, I'm Jamie. Good night,
I'm
everyone.
Hector. Night.